international issue speech, World Education. What would life be like if you couldn't read? What if you couldn't write? And what if you couldn't do a simple math problem, like addition? Would the daily tasks that you don't even think about anymore become difficult, like counting the money in your pocket to pay a cashier, or applying for a job, or just supporting your family in general? What if all the education you've had up to now was never offered to you at all? To understand what life would be like this, we need to know what education actually is. Education, according to the Business Dictionary, is a sequence of knowledge, experience, and understanding. I know in my family, there's a wide range of people with different levels of education. My grandparents stopped somewhere in middle school. My parents finished high school, and me and my brothers are in college. But we all know that the education we did receive helps us function properly in society today, and we have the right kind of understanding of the world that we need. Education is the foundation of many parts of life, not just knowledge, and it needs to be a priority. Though there are many parts, I'm going to talk about two specific today. Education is correlated with both poverty and crime. When I talk about education's correlation with poverty, it's both childhood poverty and adulthood poverty. According to DoSomething.org, a nonprofit organization that works with teens and young adults and helps inform them of world issues and gives them opportunities to help, they did an article on world education. In their article, they said that 1 year of education in a poor country can equal a 10% increase in income. Think about if your income was 10% more than it is now. Would it make a difference? I would think so. They also said that educated mothers are less likely to have children that are stunted in growth or malnourished. For every year a mother is educated, the mortality rate of their child goes down 2%. That's a huge deal. The Institute for Fiscal Studies did a report on the GCSE, or the Certificate of Secondary Education, and their thresholds for different children in different societies. It showed that the threshold for children in poor countries was lowest, and children from higher income families was higher. And the trend never changed. The lower your income, the lower your score, the higher your income, the higher your score. This is true not just for childhood poverty, but also for adulthood poverty. If a child is in a low-income situation and never educated about how to change, then they're probably going to become in a low-income situation as an adult as well, and it becomes a cycle. An article from the Statistics on Human Rights had this chart in it. This chart shows the average years of education for the richest and poorest kids in certain countries. The richest kids had more education than the poorest kids in every single country that there was. The trend doesn't change among countries. It's the same all around the world. The more education you have, the less likely you are to be involved in poverty. Crime is also associated with education, not just in foreign countries, but also in the United States. According to the Justice Policy Institute out of Washington, D.C., there are approximately 2 million people incarcerated in the U.S. today, both in jail and prison. Of those people, overall and overwhelmingly, they have significantly attained less education than the average human in the U.S. This means that a person with less education is more likely to become violent or commit a crime. It's another cycle just like it was with poverty. If a person is never educated, then they're not sure how to act in the world, and they will be put in bad situations. So what is the cost of educating a person? According to the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO, the poorer the country, it seems the more expensive it is for them to go to school. In the U.S., for every $100 that the government spends, a person has to pay $10 to be educated. In poorer countries, a person can pay as much as $70 for every $100 that the government spends. It doesn't make much sense that the poorer you are, the more you have to spend. There's also more costs that they have to take into account, like transportation. A kid might need a bicycle to go miles to school. That's something else the parents have to pay for. They also have to pay for supplies, textbooks, and sometimes even uniforms. There are also insufficient resources in the schools themselves. Some schools don't have electricity, they don't have running water, and they don't have proper sanitation systems. You're putting a kid into a school that they're supposed to learn, but they have a lot more worries there than just educating themselves. Another problem is that schools have few books and are small rooms. In the Central African Republic, schools can have 84 kids per classroom. In my elementary school, I was never in the class over 30, and sometimes we only had 20 kids. When there's 84 students in one classroom, there's very little one-on-one student-teacher interactions. In Cameroon, there can be 12 students to one textbook. Think about if you had to sit around a table with a book and study for a test, but 12 of you were looking at the same information. How much of that would you get? At the most, I've ever shared with one person in the classroom. So we need to know that this is a big problem. You think that you're just like everybody else being educated, but really we're the minority. Also, according to UNESCO, 1 in 10 children are denied a chance at education. They say that by the time we hit 2015, we'll need 6.8 million teachers. That's both replacing teachers that have been fired or quit, but also adding teachers that we need that aren't there at all. A change needs to start, and it needs to start now. The urgency needs to happen, and it should have happened a long time ago. Why is this not a problem? This affects not only how a kid learns, but it's also how their life will be in the future. When you aren't giving a kid a chance at education, you're also not giving them a chance at a better life.